This live stream to continue reading. This reading out loud is to learn and improve English reading skill and to educate the Buddha's teaching via the Buddhadasa Bhikkhu's book titled Handbook for Mankind. I may be very unclear or not correct pronunciation or stress on such word. By the way, I am trying my best to read out loud based on my self-learning background and my own accent. Let's get started. To continue, page number 47. 47. Grasping and clinging for. How can we get away from and become completely independent of things, all of which are transient, unsatisfactory, and devoid of selfhood? Check life first. Okay. Good. The answer is that we have to find out what is the cause of our desiring those things and clinging to them. Knowing that cause, we shall be in a position to eliminate clinging completely. Buddhists recognize 4 different kinds of clinging or attachment. Number 1, sensual attachment. Anhนี้ไม่อ่านแล้วกันนะอาจจะผิดไม่แน่ใจคาโนปัญญา attachment เดี๋ยวเปิดอันนี้ไปด้วย is clinging to attractive and desirable sense objects. It is the attachment that we naturally develop for things we like and find satisfaction in. Colors and shapes, sounds, odors, taste, tactile, such objects, or mental images, objects, past, present, or future that arise in the mind and either correspond to material objects in the world outside or within the body, or are just imaginings we instinctively find pleasure, enhancement, enchantment, delight in these 6 kinds of sense objects. They induce delight and enchantment in the mind perceiving them. As soon as an individual is born, he comes to know the taste of these six sense objects and clings to them, and as time passes, he becomes more and more firmly attached, attached to them, attached to them. Ordinary people are incapable of withdrawing from them again, so they present a major problem. It is necessary to have a proper knowledge and understanding of these sense objects, and to act appropriately with respect to them. Otherwise, clinging to them may lead to complete and utter dereliction. If we examine the case history of any person who has sunk into dereliction, check pronunciation first. Sorry. Dereliction. Canto 13, a Latin.
Dereliction.
Dereliction. Dereliction.
Dereliction.
Dereliction. Dereliction. We always find that it has come about through his clinging fast to some desirable sense object. Actually, every single thing a human being thus has its origin in sensuality. Whether we love, become angry, hate, feel envious, murder, or commit suicide, the ultimate cause must be some sense object. If we investigate what is it that drives human beings to work energetically, or to do anything at all for that matter, we find it is desire to get things of one kind or another. People strive, study, and earn what money they can, and then go off in search of pleasure. in the form of colors and shapes, sounds, odor, taste, and tactile objects, which is what keeps them going. Even merit making in order to go to heaven has its origins simply in a wish based on sensuality. Taken together, all the trouble and chaos in the world has its origin in sensuality. The danger of sensuality lies in the power of sensual attachment. For this reason, the Buddha reckoned clinging to sensuality as the primary form of attachment. It is a real-world problem. Whether the world is to be completely destroyed or whatever is to happen is bound to depend on this very sensual clinging. It behoved. It behoved อ่านแต่มองเข้าใจเลย behoved us to examine ourselves to find out in what ways we are attached to sensuality and how firmly, and whether it is not perhaps within our power to give it up. Power to give it up. Speaking in worldly terms, attachment to sensuality is a very good thing. It conduces to family love, to diligence and energy in the search for wealth and fame and so on. But if looked at from the spiritual point of view, it is seen to be the secret entrance for suffering and torment. Spiritually speaking, attachment to sensuality is something to be kept under control. And if all suffering is to be eliminated, sensual attachment has to be done away with completely. Number 2, attachment. Attachment to opinions. Clinging to views and opinions is not difficult to detect and identify once we do a little introspection. Ever since we were born into the world, we have been receiving instruction and training, which has given rise to ideas and opinions. In speaking here of opinions, what we have in mind is the kind of ideas one hangs on to and refuses to let go of. To cling to one's own ideas and opinions is quite natural and is not normally condemned or disapproved of, but it is no less grave a danger than attachment to attractive and desirable objects. It can happen that preconceived ideas and opinions to which we have always clung obstinately come to be destroyed. For this reason, it is necessary that we continually amend our views, making them progressively more correct, better, higher, changing false views into views that are closer and closer to the truth, and ultimately into the kind of views that incorporate the Four Noble Truths. Obstinate and stubborn opinions have various origins, but in the main they are bound up with customs, traditions, ceremonies, and religious doctrines. Doctrine ไปก่อนกัน Stubborn personal convictions are not a matter of great importance. They are far less numerous than convictions stemming from long-held popular traditions and ceremonies. Adherence to views is based on ignorance. Lacking knowledge, we develop our own personal views on things based on our own original stupidity. For instance, we are convinced that things are desirable and worth clinging to, that they really endure, are worthwhile, and are selves, instead of perceiving that they are just a delusion and a deception, transient, worthless, and devoid of selfhood. Once we have come to have certain ideas about something, we naturally don't like to admit later on that we were mistaken. Even though we may occasionally see that we are wrong, we simply refuse to admit it. Obstinacy of this sort is to be considered a major obstacle to progress, rendering us incapable of changing for the better, incapable of modifying false religious convictions and other long-standing beliefs. This is likely to be a problem for people who hold the Neff doctrines. Doctrine.
Dick tribe. Doctrine.
Doctrine. Sorry, doctrine. Doctrine หลักทฤษฎีหลักการปรัชญา rendering modifying just Neff ใช่ไหม Neff doctrines even though they may later come to see them as Neff. They refuse to change on the grounds that their parents, grandparents, and ancestors all held those same views, or if they are not really interested in correcting and improving themselves, they may simply brush away any arguments against their own ideas with the remark that this is what they have always believed. For this very reasons, attachment to opinions is to be considered a dangerous defilement, a major danger which, if we are to better ourselves at all, we ought to make all efforts to eliminate. Doctrine. Number 3, attachment to rites and rituals. This refers to clinging to meaningless traditional practices that have been thoughtlessly handed down. Practices which people choose to regard as sacred จำไม่ได้อ่านไม่ได้ sacred นะ sacred ศักดิ์สิทธิ์บางคำอ่านก็จำไม่ค่อยได้ไม่แน่ใจ sacred regards as sacred and not to be changed under any circumstances. In Thailand, there is no less of this sort of thing than in other places. There are beliefs involving amulets, magical artifacts, and all manner of secret procedures that exist. For instance, the beliefs that on rising from sleep one must pronounce a mystical formula over water and then wash one's face in it. That before leaving nature, one must turn and face this and that point of the compass. The compass, continue. And that before one partakes of food or goes to sleep, there have to be other rituals. There are beliefs in spirits and celestial beings, in sacred trees, in sacred tree, ต้นไม้ศักดิ์สิทธิ์ and all manner of magical objects. This sort of thing is completely irrational. People just don't think rationally. They simply cling to the established pattern. They have always done it that way, and they just refuse to change. Many people professing to be Buddhists cling to these beliefs as well, and so have it both ways. And this even includes some who call themselves bhikkhus. Disciples of the Buddha, religious doctrines based on belief in God, angels, and sacred objects are particularly prone to these kinds of views. There is no reason why we Buddhists should not be completely free of this sort of thing. The reason we have to free of such views is that if we practice any aspect of Dhamma, unaware of its original purpose, unconscious of the rationale of it, the result is bound to be the foolish, naive assumption that it is something magical. Thus, we find people taking up on themselves the moral precepts or practicing Dhamma purely and simply to conform with the accepted pattern. The traditional ceremonial just to follow the example that has been handed down. They know nothing of the rationale of these things, doing them just out of force of habit. Such a firmly established clinging is hard to correct. This is what is meant by thoughtless attachment to traditional practices, insight meditation, or tranquility meditation as practiced nowadays if carried out without any knowledge of rhyme. RHLME. RHLME.
Rhyme.
Rhyme. Rhyme. If carried out without any knowledge of rhyme and reason and the real objectives of it is bound to be motivated by grasping and clinging, misdirected, and just some kind of foolishness, and even the taking of the precepts 5, 8, or 10, or however many, if done in the belief that one will thereby become a magical, supernatural, holy individual possessing psychic or other powers, become just misdirected routine, motivated simply by attachment to rite and ritual. It is necessary, then, that we be very cautious. Buddhist practice must have a sound foundation in thought and understanding and desire to destroy the defilements. Otherwise, it will be just foolishness. It will be misdirected, irrational, just a waste of time. Number 4, attachment to the idea of selfhood. The belief in selfhood is something important and also something extremely well concealed. Any living creature is always bound to have the wrong idea of me and mine. This is the primal instinct of living things and is the basis of all other instincts. For example, the instinct to seek food and eat it, the instinct to avoid danger, the instinct to procreate, and many others consist simply in the creature's instinctive awareness of a belief in its own selfhood. Convinced first of all of its own selfhood, it will naturally desire to avoid death, to search for food and nourish its body, to seek safety, and to propagate the species. A belief in selfhood is then universally present in all living things. If it were not so, they could not continue to survive. At the same time, however, it is what causes suffering in the search for food and shelter, in the propagation of species, or in any activity whatsoever. This is one reason why the Buddha taught that attachment to the self idea is the root cause of all suffering. He summed it up very briefly by saying things if clung to clung if clung clungภาษาอังกฤษยากคลุงครั้งเป็น verb ช่องที่สองของ cling เป็นช่องที่สองกับช่องที่สามของ cling นะอ่านว่าคลุงคลั่งว่าช่องที่สองช่องที่สามของคลิ้งอันว่าครั้งไม่ใช่คลุ้งอันว่าครั้ง which are clung to our suffering. Knowledge of the source and basis of life and of suffering is to be considered the most profound and most penetrating knowledge, since it puts us in a position to eliminate suffering completely. This piece of knowledge can be claimed to be unique to Buddhism. It is not to be found in any other religion in the world. The most efficacious way of dealing with attachment is to recognize it whenever it is present. This applies most particularly present เป็นคำนาม present เป็นกริยา This applies most particularly to attachment to the idea of selfhood, which is the very basis of life. It is something that comes into existence of its own accord, establishing itself in us without our needing to be taught it. It is present. It is present. It is present as an instinct in children and the small offspring of animals, right from birth. Baby animals such as kittens know how to assume a defensive attitude, as we can see when we try to approach them. There is always that something, the self present in mind. Present in mind. Self present in mind. And consequently, this attachment is about to manifest. The only thing to do is to rein ก่อน Rain, it, rain, 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 rain. ถ้าเป็นภาษาเยอรมันก็จะ
Rain.
rain rain บางเหียนควบคุม rain to rain it in as much as possible until such time as one is well advanced in spiritual knowledge. In other words, to employ Buddhist principles until คือพยายามอ่านให้ถูกเก็บยิ่งผิดไม่ต้องซีเรียส until this instinct has been overcome and completely eliminated as long as one is still an ordinary person a whirling this instinct remains unconquered only the highest of Aryans, the Arahant นี่คือพระอรหันต์อริยันพระอรหันต์จิตของพระอรหันต์ has succeeded in defeating it. We must recognize this as a matter of no small importance. It is a major problem common to all living creatures. If we are to be real Buddhists, if we are to derive the full benefits from the teaching, it is up to us to set about overcoming this misconception. The suffering to which we are subject will diminish accordingly. To know the truth about these things, which are of everyday concern to us, is to be regarded as one of the greatest boons, one of the greatest skills. Do give some thought to this matter of the four attachments, bearing in mind that nothing whatever is worth clinging to, that by the nature of things, nothing is worth getting or being, that we are completely enslaved by things. It's simply a result of these four kinds of attachment. It rests with us to examine and become thoroughly familiar with the highly dangerous and toxic nature of things. Their harmful nature is not immediately evident, as is the case with abrasive fire, weapons, or poison. They are well disguised.
Disguise.
Disguise disguise. They are will disguise. Disguise ถ้าลงท้าย sed เนี่ยต้องเสียงถึกเบาๆ They are well disguised as sweet. Disguised as sweet. Tasty, fragrant, unlearning things, beautiful things, melodious things. Coming in these forms, they are bound to be difficult to recognize and deal with. Consequently, we have to make use of this knowledge the Buddha has equipped ลงท้ายด้วยตัว P ก็ออกชื่อเบาๆเหมือนกัน has equipped us with. We have to control this unskillful grasping and subdue it by the power of insight. Doing this, we shall be in a position to organize our life in such a way that it becomes free of suffering, free of even the smallest trace of suffering. We shall be capable of working and living peacefully in the world of being undefiled, enlightened, and tranquil. เงียบสงบ Let us sum up. These 4 forms of attachment are the only problem that Buddhists or people who wish to know about Buddhism have to understand. The objective of living a holy life in Buddhism is to enable the mind to give up unskillful grasping. You can find this teaching in every discourse in the text, which treats of the attainment of arahantship. The expression used is the mind freed from attachment. That is the ultimate. When the mind is free from attachment, there is nothing to buy it, make it a slave of the world. There is nothing to keep it spinning on in the cycle of birth and death. So the whole process comes to a stop, or rather, becomes a world transcending, free from the world. The giving up of unskillful clinging is then the key to Buddhist practice. The 3-fold training. 5. In this chapter, we shall examine the method to be used for eliminating clinging. The method is based on 3 practical steps, namely morality, concentration, and insight. known collectively as the threefold training ศีลสมาธิปัญญาใช่ The first step is morality ศีล morality ศีล Morality is simply suitable behavior that conforms with the generally accepted standards and causes no distress to other people or to oneself. It is coded in the form of 5 moral precepts ศีล 5 precept ศีล 5 or 8 or 10 or ศีล 5 ศีล 8 ศีล 10 ศีล 227 or 227 or in other ways. It is conducted by way of body and speech aimed at peace, convenience, and freedom from undesirable effects at the most basic level. It has to do with the members of a social group and the various pieces of property essential to live in. The second aspect of the threefold training is concentration, samadhi. This consists in constraining the mind to remain in the condition most conducive conducive to success in whatever he wishes to achieve. Just what is concentration? No doubt most of you have always understood concentration as implying a completely tranquil mind. ใจที่สงบสุข as steady and unmoving as a log of wood. But merely these two characteristics of being tranquil and steady are not the real meaning of concentration. The basis for this statement is an utterance of the Buddha. He described the concentrated mind as fit for work in a suitable condition for doing its job. Fit for work is the very best way to describe the properly concentrated mind. The third aspect is the training in insight, ปัญญา ศีล สมาธิ ปัญญา The practice and drill that gives rise to the full measure of light knowledge and understanding of the true nature of all things. Normally, we are incapable of knowing anything at all in its true nature. Mostly, we either stick to our own ideas or go along with popular opinion, so that what we see is not the truth at all. It is for this reason that Buddhist practice includes this training insight, the last aspect of the threefold training, designed to give rise to full understanding of an insight into the true nature of things. In the religious context, understanding and insight are not by any means the same. Understanding depends to some extent on the use of reasoning, on rational intellection. Insight goes further than that. An object known by insight has been absorbed. It has been penetrated to and confronted face to face. The mind has become thoroughly absorbed in it through examination and investigation, to sustain that there has arisen a non-rational but genuine and heartfelt disenchantment with the thing and a complete lack of emotional involvement in it. Consequently, the Buddhist training in insight does not refer to intellectual understanding of the kind used in present day academic and scholarly circles, where each individual can have his own particular kind of truth. Buddhist insight must be intuitive insight, clear and immediate, the result of having penetrated through the object by one means or another, until it has made a definite and indelible indelible yeah. Nó có một chậm nó có chậm ở chỗ này indelible impression on the mind. For this reason, the objects of scrutiny in insight training must be things that one comes into contact within the course of everyday living, or at least they must be things of sufficient importance to render the mind genuinely fed up and disenchanted with them as transient, unsatisfactory, and not self. However much we think rationally evaluating the characteristics of transience, unsatisfactoriness, and non-selfhood, nothing results but intellectual understanding. There is no way it can give rise to disillusionment and disenchantment with worldly things. It must be understood that the condition of disenchantment replaces that of desiring the formerly infatuatingly attractive object, and that this in itself constitutes the insight. It is a fact of nature that the presence of genuine, clear insight implies the presence of genuine disenchantment. It is impossible that the process should stop short at the point of clear insight. Disenchantment disperses desire for the object and is bound to arise immediately. Training in morality is simply elementary, preparatory practice which enables us to live happily and helps stabilize the mind. Morality yields various benefits, the most important being the preparing of the way for concentration. Other advantages, such as conducing to happiness or to rebirth as a celestial being.อันนี้หรือเปล่าอุปาทกะอะไรไม่แน่ใจ were not considered by the Buddha to be the direct aims of morality. He regarded morality as primarily a means of inducing and developing concentration. As long as things continue to disturb the mind, it can never become concentrated. Training in concentration consists in developing the ability to control this mind of ours, to make use of it, to make it do its job to the best advantage. Morality is good behavior in respect of body and speech. Concentration amounts to good behavior in respect of the mind and is the fruit of thorough mental training and discipline. The concentrated mind is devoid of all bad, defiling thoughts and does not wander of the object. It is in a fit condition to do its job, even in ordinary worldly situations. Concentration is always a necessity.